development of Jainism. So the queen of Vishnuvardhana was Shantala Devi, a Jaina patron. Under her generosity, several temples have been built. So one notable construction which we have to remember was that Basadi, Jaina Basadi, that was built at Shravana Belagola. Even now that is there. Okay. So she had installed image of Jaina Shantinaja, and then she made grant for the development of Jainism in and around Shravan Belagola. Okay. Then she spent her last days also in the temple only, and she gave up her life by performing Salekana. Okay. So that way you find Shantala Devi is much appreciated for her beauty, her wisdom, her contribution in the field of politics, administration, music, and dance as well. Then another wife was Bommala Devi. So she becomes the chief queen after the death of Shantala Devi, right? So she also helped Vishnuvardhana in administration, and she has been responsible for contributing donation for the repair and maintenance of several temples during that period. So why are we saying this? When a student is learning about polity and administration, you should remember that there can be co-regent, there can be sons helping the father in administration. There were also women, queen, who were helping the king in undertaking administration. So both Shantala Devi and Bommala Devi have helped in the administration. Okay. I actually avoided Salekana. Salekana is a way of sacrifice. Okay. So there are usually the Jains are expected to give up their worldly life and then retire as a monk. So when they are retiring as a monk, they can undertake many ways of giving up their life. That means they choose to give up this body. It's not like they wait for a disease. They decide to give up their life. So what do? One of the lengthiest process is fasting. You don't have to eat your food, right? You don't have to drink water. You don't have to eat your food. Then by fasting, you can give up your life. Another way is they will conduct an elaborate prayer ceremony, and then they will put spears, spikes, right? Long spear, and they will jump from the hilltop over the spear. So then what happens? They will die, right? So that way also they can give up their life. So this is considered to be noble, not suicide. So they have to perform a ceremony. They have to say that they have conducted all their duties well. They surrender their responsibilities, and then in a very prayerful way, they decide to give up their life. Okay. So that is how Salekana Vrata was done by Shantala Devi. Okay, right? So that's the information. If you are interested, you can get more information. Okay, right. Then the next important king, there are two important kings, as we said. One is our Vishnuvardhana. The next is Veeraballala. Veeraballala ruled from 1173 to Veeraballala II. Don't forget that. Veeraballala II ruled from 1173 to 1220. During his period only, the Chalukyans were completely defeated. Chalukyans of Kalyani was overthrown totally, right? So the Kalyani region would be occupied by Yadavas. The last ruler was Someshwara, fourth. We already studied about Chalukyas of Kalyani. So Chalukyas of Kalyani was put to an end. Someshwara IV was defeated. Then he was able to shift his Someshwara's successors. They were still alive. No, they didn't know what to do. So they moved away from the Kalyani region. They shifted their capital to Banavasi. So with that, the Hoysala Chalukya trouble is over. Chalukyans were completely defeated during this period. So Veeraballala II is remembered for overcoming Chalukyas of Kalyani completely. The last ruler was Someshwara IV. His successors shifted to Banavasi region. Okay. Then he was also the next important neighbors were the Cholas. So he made friendship with some of them. He created family relationships. That means matrimonial alliances were made with Cholas so that he can sustain the Chalukyans sustain Hoysalas against the Cholas. So that way he's trying to mimic a balance among the neighboring territories. Okay. So Veeraballala II is remembered for his successes against Yadavas. He did not allow them to succeed or expand. He is also remembered for his victory against Kalachuri, against Pandyas of Madurai, against Western Chalukyans, as well as Cholas of Tanjore. Okay, so he is able to get power over all these neighboring dynasties. So I just listed all the neighboring dynasties who were defeated by Veeraballala II. So this is what we have to remember about Ballala II. So one of the historians, Chaurasya, talks about Ballala making a conquest. So that made Hoysalas the most powerful dynasty in the 12th century. Which conquest? This one. Okay, this list of conquest I just mentioned to you, whether it was Yadavas or Kalachuris or Pandyas or the diminishing power of Cholas. So he's making matrimonial alliances. So Chaurasya says by the end of the 12th century, Ballala has made Hoysalas the most powerful dynasty of the Deccan. That is one reference. Then number two, historian Deret talks about that among the Hoysala rulers, the most outstanding Hoysala king is Ballala II. Then he's comparing Ballala II to Vishnuvardhana. So who is more glorious? Both of them are equally glorious. Grandfather is Vishnuvardhana. So they are equally glorious is what historian Deret is saying. But if he has to say who's the most outstanding, he will go with Ballala II. Okay. Then another importance for his period was lot of court historians, court poets. They were very popular. Okay. For example, some of the most notable poets of that period had existed during this period, like Nemi Chandra, Jnana, Rudra Bhatta. So popular books and compositions were made during his period, which were patronized by Ballala II. So then there are three historians in this South India book, Chopra and others. So they are also saying the most important contribution of Ballala II is the kingdom became completely independent and the kingdom started the age of imperialism. That means they are expanding, they are conquering the neighboring territories from Yadavas of Devagiri, from Kalachuri, from Pandyas, from Chalukyas, and from Cholas. So that way, Ballala II is remembered for his achievements during this time. Okay. So in the late 12th century, Chalukyans have already become weaker. So the real competition was between these Yadavas, the Hoysalas, and the Kalachuri. So Hoysalas became more successful against these Yadavas and the Kalachuri. Okay. So the Kalachuri king, we already studied now, rulers of Kalachuri, Bijala. Bijala took control of one half of Kalyana region, Basava Kalyana region. So he is concentrating on the Bida district. Okay. So the Veeraballala is concentrating on the south and the west districts of Karnataka region, and he is successful against the Yadavas as well as against Pandyas. Okay. So this is what we know to study about Veeraballala II. So Ballala II was able to push the northern boundaries of the Hoysala Empire up to Malaprabha and Krishna. Okay, so Veeraballala has led several voyages against Banavasi, right? So he's chasing Someshwara fourth. Someshwara fourth and to sixth, his successors have already gone back to Banavasi region, but this Ballala chased them. He was successful against them in the Banavasi region also. They took control of Kadag region, Soratpur, Lakkundi, all those regions, and then they are pushing the northern boundaries of the Hoysalas because they were earlier well established in the south and the southwest of Karnataka. No? So they are able to expand Hoysalas to Malaprabha and Krishna. Underline this sentence. Okay, and Ballala II coronated himself as the emperor of entire modern Karnataka by defeating the Yadava ruler, by defeating Chalukya ruler, by defeating these territories. Ballala II had coronated himself as the ruler of entire Karnataka region. So these are all main. Even smaller dynasties like Banavasi, Hangal, Halashi, Nodambavadi, Bagalkot, Gulbarga, all of them were defeated by Ballala in 1196. Children, you have to write and practice. So, entire Tungabhadra and Krishna river region came under the control of Ballala II. So that is the achievement of Ballala II. So what is this with the Cholas? That is the another interesting aspect people ask about. Okay. So when Pandya, Maravarman Sundara Pandya came to the throne, he wanted to seek revenge for the humiliation of his elder brother Jadavarman Kulashekara Pandya. Okay, so Pandyas and Cholas were having lot of enmity. Okay, so Jadavarman Kulashekara was insulted by Chola ruler Kulatunga. Okay, so they were fighting with each other, Pandyas and the Cholas. Okay, so Kulatunga is now asking help from Hoysala. Okay, so the problem is between Pandyas and the Cholas. Pandyas were humiliated by the Cholas before. So now Maravarman Sundara Pandya is wanting to humiliate Chola. So he is constantly going and attacking Chola dynasty again and again and again. So Kulatunga was so much irritated. He is looking for another option. So he is going to his neighbor Hoysala dynasty. So that is how this friendship developed between Cholas and the Hoysalas against Pandyas, right? So Kulatunga is asking help from the Hoysalas, and Veeraballala immediately says yes and sends his troops. Okay, so his son Narasimhavarma will be sent with lot of soldiers and material and everything. So to help Kulotunga so that they can fight against Pandyas. So because of this friendship, you find good relationships started to happen between Hoysalas and the Cholas. So with this victory, the Cholas and are so much appreciative and thankful and grateful for Hoysalas for their timely help. Okay, so they are lavishly showering Ballala with lot of titles like Chola Rajya Pratishtacharya. That means what? Because of you, Chola Rajya got established. So what a big credit for an outside king to be told, because of you, our establishment got settled. Okay, so Ballala II was given a title Chola Rajya Pratishtacharya, establisher of Chola kingdom. Then Hoysala Chakravarti. So he is not just a ruler of his own dynasty, he has now become emperor by defeating Pandyas. Okay, so Hoysala Chakravarti, Dakshina Chakravarti. It is not just Hoysala, he has become emperor of the south also. So that Kaveri and Srirangam, Tungabhadra, all those territories have come under the rule of Hoysalas, right? So that is why Veeraballala II's period is much remembered for the successes against Chalukyans, success against Pandyans, right? And helping the Cholas also to get success against Pandyans. Okay. So let me ask a question to one of you.